$38 million into Hendricks County. And today's brief breaks down what that build actually tells you about labor competition, supplier consolidation, your exposure there, and who the winners are in the Plainfield corridor. There are also two national data releases that look strong on the surface and are actively misleading at the detail level, and an AI adoption story with a credibility footnote your team needs to hear. Four developments we're going to be covering today. All right. Boston Scientific is building a 500,000 square foot global medical device distribution and light manufacturing facility at Plainfield Innovation Park in Hendricks County. $138 million in capital, up to 300 jobs, and a $5.5 million performance-based incentive package from the IEDC, and a groundbreaking expected later this year. Governor Braun announced it June 3rd. Here is what the headline glosses over. This isn't a warehouse you can just pick up and move. The facility includes embedded regulatory compliance operations, and relocating an FDA registered facility requires re-registration, revalidation of quality systems, and customer requalification. That process is why these sites rarely move inside of a decade. It changes the competitive calculus entirely for existing Indiana device suppliers in the regional ecosystem. Now, Boston Scientific's own 2025 annual report describes the company as embedding R&D into plants around the world and infusing AI and automation throughout its global supply chain. At $460,000 in capital per employee, this is a heavily automated footprint. It's worth asking whether a facility that size with that capital intensity could eventually pull in work currently contracted out to regional device suppliers. That is the scenario that's probably worth modeling. Meanwhile, Plainfield's industrial corridor is reportedly at 97% occupancy. Supporting vendors competing to locate adjacent will push land and lease costs higher. So watch whether Boston Scientific files with the FDA as a distribution facility or a manufacturing establishment. That filing tells you whether this stays as a logistics hub or starts pulling production in-house. That's something you're probably going to want to know. Now, this next story does keep developing, and if you're operating anywhere in East Central Indiana, the timeline here matters far more than the eventual enrollment numbers. In Ivy Tech Muncie, so Ivy Tech Muncie reported that its School of Advanced Manufacturing, Engineering, and Applied Science grew completions 94% year over year. Workforce training enrollment hit 1,003 students, up 62.3%. Chancellor Jeffrey D. Scott attributed the results to barrier removal and hands-on instruction at the Cohen Road Advanced Technology Center, serving Delaware, Henry, and Jay counties in Indiana. The operationally relevant fact isn't the growth itself, it's what happens to that data starting July 1st. Senate Enrolled Act 254, authored by Senator Greg Good and signed by Governor Braun on March 5th, formally designates Ivy Tech as Indiana's statutory workforce engine. Effective July 1, the IEDC then has until December 1st to build an education to employment data framework. The statute doesn't specify exactly how that data will be used, but once IEDC has employer campus training volume at the deal scoring stage, it's hard to imagine they won't weigh it. So that's the bet worth hedging against before the framework is finalized. Manufacturers actively partnered with the Muncie Manufacturing Alliance's exclusive Ivy Tech Consortium get early visibility access to that credentialed pipeline. Manufacturers who aren't engaged are competing for the same candidates, but without that advantage. The December 1 deadline is legit. Get someone engaged with that consortium right now. Do not wait until after the framework is built. and finalized. The ISM manufacturing PMI came in at 54% for May 2026, a 4-year high, 5th consecutive month of expansion. Factory orders surged 4.8% to 662.7 billion in April, the largest monthly rise since May 2025. Both numbers look strong. Both require significant qualification. On the PMI, Industrial Sage's analysis of ISM respondents found 42% directly cited the Iran conflict, with 69% of comments negative. The Supplier Deliveries Index locked at 60.6%, its highest since 2022, means delivery slowdowns are acute. The Prices Paid Index held at 82.1, only slightly off April's 4-year high of 84.6. The expansion is being driven by defensive stockpiling ahead of further tariff and Iran-related shocks, not organic demand growth. My read? When those inventories normalize, expect a PMI air pocket in Q3 or Q4, and the ISM Employment Index just posted its 32nd consecutive month of contraction. On factory orders, the 4.8% headline is almost entirely a Boeing story. Commercial aircraft orders surged 165.9% after Boeing reported 136 gross orders in April, its best monthly total of 2026. Outside of that, orders for non-defense capital goods, excluding aircraft, the metric that actually tracks broad business investment, declined 1% in April, missing even the modest 0.4% forecast. That's the number Indiana machinery and fabricated metal suppliers should be watching. Machinery orders rose by only 0.7%. If your order book looks strong right now, the question is how much of it traces to customer restocking versus genuine end user demand. Here's where today's stories converge, and they converge differently depending on where you actually operate. If you're in the Plainfield corridor, the BSX build is a localized pressure point. Land costs tightening, lease rates climbing, and a heavily automated anchor tenant raising the baseline wage expectation for credentialed operators in Hendricks County. Now, if you're in East Central Indiana, the pressure point is different and policy driven. The Senate enrolled Act 254 clock is running toward December 1, and manufacturers who aren't engaged with the Ivy Tech Muncie pipeline before that framework is built will be positioning after the scoring criteria are already set. And statewide, the macro data your procurement team may be using to justify inventory decisions is being propped up by stockpiling and a single Boeing surge that neither reflects durable demand nor is likely to repeat. At the end of the day, Indiana manufacturers are being asked to make labor, capital, and supplier decisions in an environment where the headline numbers, PMI, factory orders, even a major investment announcement, each require a layer of qualification before they translate into operational guidance. 3 things to act on. First, if you're a regional device supplier, model the scenario where a heavily automated Plainfield facility eventually pulls work in-house. Don't assume the current contract volume is structural. Second, if you're in East Central Indiana, get someone into an active Ivy Tech partnership conversation before the IEDC data framework is built. Position matters before the scoring criteria are finalized. Third, audit which portions of your current order book trace to restocking cycles versus durable end user demand, and build your Q3 and Q4 assumptions accordingly. Now, all that said, I don't run a manufacturing facility. I am the CEO of Tactical Energy Group. We're an Indiana-based energy management technology provider. And I believe one of the most important things I can do is stay on top of all the dynamics that drive the economics of making things in Indiana so we can consistently improve the solutions we bring to support the manufacturing community. And that is what TEG Daily, this Indiana manufacturing news brief, actually is. I'm tracking the essential developments and bringing them to you, and I genuinely hope that they're useful to you. So share this brief with your team and subscribe to get daily updates just like this one. Thank you so much for watching.